Yeah, sometimes you just feeling it, you know what I'm saying? You just feeling it. Hey, what's good, everybody? I know I haven't made a spirit animal video in a while, so I wanted to make this one real quick. This spirit animal video is about the Sphinx Moth. Um, I've had a few encounters with it lately, and I guess they were so, I don't know, profound is the right word, but I guess they were, like they jumped out at me so much that I had to look it up, right? Um, so I'll just talk about the experiences real quick, and then I'll go into the meaning. You know, I mean, I've gone over this in my head, and it was really long because of what it meant to me. But I'll just, I'll let you come up with it on your own, right? If you've ran into it, right? So this is what happened for me. I had gone on this trail where, usually I pass by on my bike, right? But it's about 8 miles away, so I was able to find it in the car. It's like in a state park. I believe it's a state park. And so I was able to park and then go to this place, that I would pass on my bike, right? On this trail. And so, I go and then I have to use the restroom, right? Because there's no restrooms open right there. So I go through the trail, and as I'm going, I see there's like a caterpillar. It jumps out in front of me. I'll put a little video of it right here, a picture, and it's pretty big, good size caterpillar. And I take the little video of it, and then after that, it kind of I wait as it goes into nature because there's like a little like road, rocky road or something, and then it goes into the plants or whatever, and then I keep walking, and as I'm heading out the trail, right, I go pee whatever, and then as I'm going out the trail, I hear someone behind me, so I look back and I see, it's someone and whatever, I don't have a camera with me, so I just kind of, I guess, hold on to it in case it's, because I just see someone, but I didn't really see who it was, right? And so after that, I'm walking out, and they catch up to me, right, as I'm almost out this trail into like the open space, and I go like, oh wow, because this caterpillar had an orange head and then like black and yellow body, right? So when I see this person, they have an orange helmet, and the outfit is like black and yellow, and I'm like, what? And it's a lady, and I tell her, I was like, I just seen a caterpillar with your same colors, and she's like, yeah, it's me. I turned from a caterpillar. I'm like, oh. And then she just starts laughing, and I was like, oh, okay, she's playing, But it wouldn't be the strangest thing that has happened to me. So, literally, like, if you hearing this, like, that wouldn't even be the strangest thing, right? So, it was just crazy, like, the chances, right? That, okay, this lady pops up. So I knew I was like, okay, clearly it's trying to get my attention. So, I made a mental note. I got to look this up later, right? What kind of caterpillar this is, right? Then I go on the other section, and I'm walking, and again, another caterpillar. And I'm like, oh, wow. And, I guess I don't run into them that much to think. Like, once there was a caterpillar outside my doorstep, and that blew my mind. Like, I never see caterpillars. So I looked it up and all this. Oh, yeah, I made a video about a caterpillar. So I don't know what encounter that was that I had, right? But obviously, I have a spirit animal video about the caterpillar. I got to go back and listen to it, right? But anyway, so here this caterpillar is, but it's a whole different color. I think I take a video or a picture of it as well. And then after I go on my day, and that day was just crazy, right? There were vultures coming in. So I knew there was something. I know the caterpillar already has to do with transformation, all this stuff, right? And then when the vultures came in, it's on, everything was like a death and rebirth transformation kind of thing. So I was like, all right, there's something. And I've been in this whole like transformation thing anyway. So I was like, all right, it's more solidified now, right? Oh, and I kept seeing 555 like you wouldn't believe. It was just so much 555 that I was like, okay, right? Like a car was in front of me, and it had 555. I think the last three numbers, then it moves, and there's a truck in front of him, or the this car, and that one has 555 on the opposite side, right? So that one has 555 in the beginning, one has 555 on the end, and then I go, and I end up at later on, like at this place, And then I think we went to eat somewhere, and then the address was 555, and I was like, dude, okay, all right. But there's all these changes, and then with the caterpillar and everything, and then the vultures, and I know I was running into tons of things. There was other stuff too, right? Hummingbirds always appear too to kind of get my attention. So okay, so all that, right? All that. So then with like the two caterpillars, a lady, as well, like fitting the same colors. And then so I couldn't find this caterpillar. I even posted like, oh, who knows what kind of caterpillar this is because I can't find it anywhere, right? Someone sent me one, but I was like, no, that's not it. You could see that the stripes are different, right? Because there's so many species that I didn't know, right? So finally, I can't find the first one, so I look at the other one, and then it says it's a Sphinx moth, right? And so then I see the other one. So both of them completely different colors, right? One's green, one's black and yellow. The green one has like circle. I think I'll put a picture as well, like circle patterns. The other one, whatever. So I was like, okay. So thanks to the green one, I found the black and yellow one, right? So everything happened for a reason, and it was the same one. It was amazing, such different colors, but it's the same species, right? So then I started looking at it like, okay, so both are very significant. I already know the moth has to do with the psychic intuition, the transformation, So even though it's still in a caterpillar stage, I know that that's the outcome, right? So I'm going through this transformation, right? So it all hits me, and then the Sphinx, right? What is the Sphinx about? It's the first thing that pops in my head is the riddle of the Sphinx, right? Before I even get into the whole the head of a person with the body of a lion, right? So strength and intellect, right? Because we're supposed to be, humans are supposed to be these intellectual creatures, right? And when you think about it, animals, I mean, in a way, it's almost like they don't even, if you left them alone without humans here to destroy everything or, kill animals, they survive just on instinct, right? Of course, it's like, they survive as long as they can, right? With just the instinct. But see, with that, not only strength of an animal, but that's like the outcome of us, not a superior being, right? But like a balanced being. That's a better word for it. So kind of scratch the superiority thing. It's more about the balance, right? The instincts of not only survival, but even animals have this incredible intuition, right? So they're already connected. You think about cats, right? They say like how they could see into different dimensions, right? Animals, I know my dog is like the little epitome of the little spirit animal, right? I dreamed of her just last night. I can't remember what she was doing in the dream, but I know she was in my dream last night, right? So she's this little astral traveling dog, right? So, all that and connected to the heavens, basically like here on earth and connected to the heavens, right? The Sphinx. It's connected just the way it is, right? Half animal, just like the Sagittarius, right? Half animal, half human. The Sphinx, half animal, half human, but also that, right? The animal parts with the intellect that we're supposed to use, right? So all that, but also the riddle of the Sphinx was, where he tells, I think it's Oedipus, or I saw people pronounce it both ways, Oedipus and Oedipus, right? From Greek mythology. When he encounters the Sphinx tells the Oedipus that if he could solve the riddle, he'll become king, right? So he tells him, I believe the riddle is, what crawls in the morning stands on two legs at noon and then walks on three legs in the evening, right? And so I guess Oedipus answers correctly, right? And he tells him it's a person, right? When they're a baby, they crawl on all fours. Then, noon as they're a regular person or adult, whatever, they're walking on their two legs, right? Or even from being young to whatever. And then after, when they're old, then they have the cane. They're on the three legs, right? So, I guess he's granted the thing and he becomes king. I'm almost sure, but I gotta go back and look at that story, right? But even that, the riddle, but not just that riddle, right? Like there's a riddle to the Sphinx, right? Like also the Sphinx is like seen as a protector, right? Like so many riddles people are trying to solve with the Sphinx, right? Like what is it protecting, right? Why is it there? It's obvious, It's like, and I think people have thought like, right, it's not only like a keeper of knowledge in this world, but it to other dimensions, right? I'm sure it's been said that it holds some kind of protection to a doorway into the other realms, right, or something like that. So the Sphinx is very important in that way, right? So this moth Sphinx that appeared to me, and sure enough, right, I went down the rabbit hole, and then another time, right, I went on my bike, right, because it's like 8 miles in on my bike, but the first time I went in my car. So the second time when I went on my bike, I almost ran over the same, a vulture appeared and everything. They're all closed, and then there was a bunch of egrets, right? The egrets. Um, I'm not sure really. I actually haven't looked it up to see what that symbolizes with that, right? But there is like a purity to them. They're like all white and everything. So that usually has to do with like and after I found all these like white feathers, I'm like, man, I haven't found a feather in a long time. And there was like 16, 17, 18 white feathers all over. And I couldn't see like the dead bird, and there was no like blood stain on them or nothing. So it was like all adorned on my path that I was on. And I was like, oh wow. And this was after I ran into the other two. I ran into two uh caterpillars again from the moth sphinx, right? So one of them though, I passed it, and then I came back, and then I recorded it as it went off the road, right? It was slow, but it went off. And that's another thing to them, right? The way that they're moving slowly. They're transitioning, but it's like the epitome of life, right? We go through this process in life, and it's going slowly, and eventually, and that's just the beginning of it. And still has to turn into the cocoon or whatever it's called, where it guess crystallizing, is that the way they call it? And then after the metamorphosis begins, and it turns into this moth, right? But even that, the way it was crawling, it's like it's feeling everything. It even sensed me, right? I don't know if they have eyes. I gotta look that up, right? But it sensed me, and it's like lifting up towards me when I put the phone close, right, to record it, and it's like lifting up towards me, and I tripped out on that. How I was like, oh wow, okay. If they see obviously, or they feel, if they have feel, because as they're going, they are kind of feeling around everything, and then when they fall on a crack, they do like topple over real quick, but obviously they get right back up. But so I was like, oh, are they just feeling everything? So imagine this little creature just feeling everything, right? Like a human, right? We're feeling, trying to make our way through life, feeling everything, right? All these experiences, right? And so then the second one I run into, it was too much on the road, so I'm trying to because I almost ran over it, so I'm trying to move it. I get like a little stick, and I'm trying to get it to get on the stick and put it over, but then it starts whipping violently, right? Like crazy. I was like, oh wow, this little thing looks kind of strong. I don't know if they bite too. I gotta look that up, but it just starts whipping violently, like boom, boom, boom. I was like, oh wow, like you could picture that like in a scary movie, like a huge, like it'd be destroying everything, right? Like something with a tail, like a dragon with a tail or something. It's just like whipping really violently. I'm like, all right, cool. But then I guess that was enough to get it to start moving off the road, and it goes. But just how it did that, it hit me like that. Like I was taken back to all my memories of times when I was already spiritually, like when I started, I really tapped in psychically, right? And I was like, when the first time I saw multiple realities all at once in my head, boom, and I asked for it to get taken away. I just wasn't ready, right? For me, maybe to them, they were like, yeah, boom, here. But as a human, the change was so rapid. Like I've experienced that in dreams, and I guess I'm okay with it. But to have it all at once, just like that. Like if I had the remote control and there were like 50 TVs in front of me, and I just turned them on, boom, and they were like everywhere, right? And I saw all these realities. But since it happened while I was awake, or the first time I remember I was in this, I've talked about it before. If not, I wouldn't want to freak people out. So, but it was like I was at a restaurant, but it was like a super moon that day. There was alignments with planets, and I was sitting in a restaurant with a friend because they were going through stuff, and I went with them, and uh all of a sudden it was like I could hear everybody's thoughts inside that place at the same time. And I just froze, and he's right there drinking a beer, and he's like, Like, what's wrong? Like, is it my body? Like, he thought it was like his energy because he was like going through stuff, so whatever. But I was like, I couldn't even like really talk. I was like, I think he said like, you want to get like you want to leave, and I was like, hell yeah, like let's get the hell out of here. And so even that time, right, I was like praying. Like I think I messaged two friends like, oh, can you pray for me? I don't know what the hell's happening, right? So even that time, right, I wasn't, it was like that, like, oh, take this away from me. Like, what is this, right? So I understand. So obviously, right, like I said, the month is psychic. So I already know what's coming, right? I get it. And I did, it all came to me, right? Like everything has been connected. I'll tell you a little bit about my personal story right now in a little bit, but let me just finish, wrap that up. So maybe if you're seeing it, you can figure out what it means to you. So just that, the way it was, this little thing where I was trying to help it, right? So it wouldn't get run over. So that's sometimes what it represents. Something, how many times like we see it. Let me just break it down like this because it's something everyone can relate to for the most part. Like relationships, right? I've seen it time and time again because I've been on the. I feel like I've been on the end of that one time on the opposite, right? Where I there was a girl I was with that I regretted, like to me I can make the excuse, right? I was full time student, full time job, and this girl, I thought she was really good, but I didn't I didn't appreciate her at that moment, right? There was other factors actually. So actually, but let's just say that, right? Like I'll stick to that. And so after, we finally stopped talking because it was too much for that time, right? Even though we saw each other for probably almost a year or a year. After though, what do you call it? Like after when I had more time and everything, I think I had finished school, so I had tons of more free time. I went to like to search her out, and but then she felt like, okay, I guess now she wanted to get revenge kind of thing, right? So then she was like, and then after that I told her, like I cut her loose, and then she came to look for me, right? Then I told her no, because you were acting like a beat, and she was like, oh, I know, that's why I want to make it up to you and this and that. And then so I was like, all right. But then after it didn't work out, right? So all that to say is like it happens, we see it tons, in relationships. I've been sought after like the time and time again, right? Where someone was like, oh, like trying to make it right, but after that it's like, nah, the damage is already done, right? I don't know. I'll probably even just cut out this part because that's not the point I was trying to make. I'm just trying to say like this person was good for you, right? They would have like it was nothing negative, right? It was like a person that was good. What they were too stable. Maybe you felt like, oh well, this is boring, right? The human experience, right, or something where your human self wasn't ready, right? Not, if anything, it's more just habit, right? Humans are creatures of habit. So that better situation that was gonna probably keep you out of trouble, right? You're not gonna be, but since you're used to probably the chaos, you wanted to go to the chaos, right? So that's the whole point to that, right? Like you wanted to go to the chaos because that's human. See, just the way that caterpillar was fighting violently as I was trying to help it along, but it's like, okay, you just gotta let nature take its course. Like, all right, well, go ahead. I'll just kind of stand here. I guess if you start going back, then I'll try to push you along again. But it instantly took me to my life with the spirit world. How many times I've been trying to go one way, and then they'll just like yank you back. Especially once you're on the path, once you're actually asking for help, and you're like, "Oh, lead me," uh, then it's kind of like, or once you get more connected and you realize you kind of had some sort of contract or mission here, then it's not a surprise that they yank you back, right? Or they'll let you, kind of mess yourself up. But then, because that for some reason that's when people want to connect spiritually, right? When they go, they hit like a rock bottom or something, like, so it's kind of like they'll let you till you hit that rock bottom, and it's like, whoa. And it's almost like you're more appreciated. It even talks about that on the Bible, like when you forgive someone. So what better way than to be forgiven by what you feel is God or the spirit world itself, right? And then you're more like, okay, now I want to do right, right? And it's still a struggle, right? That just because humans are creatures that have it, or we see other people and, oh, that looks like fun. I want to go do that. The grass is greener on the other side, and then we know that doesn't turn out that way, right? Don't ever compare yourself to other people because your journey is very specific and tailored to you, right? So, anyways, just that, right? So the way that the caterpillar was fighting the help, right? So even the help, it didn't want the help. It's like, just let me do it. Let me take 10 minutes on my own to get there, and if someone runs me over, too bad, kind of thing, right? So it was interesting that process of it because it reminded me of myself fighting. So because this does have to do with a spiritual situation, right? The way it was fighting it, that's what blew my mind. And then, not to mention, once it gets in the cocoon, right? Scientists have already seen that while it's in the process of turning into a butterfly or a moth, it's literally fighting, like biologically, physically, physiology. I don't know, whatever. The physiology of it or biological aspect of it is fighting the change. So while it's in its cocoon and things are trying to transform it, it's literally fighting back against it. So when I heard that a long time ago, I think I mentioned that in the caterpillar video, right? How it's literally fighting the change. So first, I think my camera did something real quick. So first it's fighting, the way it was fighting with me, like the slow process, like, hey, I think everything at its own pace. Then it's fighting the change inside the cocoon, and then finally, boom, it evolves as this moth that's, well, in this case it was a moth, right? So the moth, which is psychically connected, and just like the transformation has been completed, right? So obviously, to me, that's what it represented, and also all the vultures I was seeing, the death and rebirth, it was just all tied in, right? So that's what it represented for me. I've learned. I was gonna say something personal about the whole experience for me. Oh, I think just that, right? Like what I was talking about, how I understood that now I'm more ready for everything. Because even that, it was crazy. I started writing another book, and as I was writing this book, and also with the last guest I had, like it opened up everything again to where I remembered so many things that from a child I was suppressing, right? Because society, right? Society made me suppress these things. I became like I saw how it wasn't accepted. So it's like, and I said that in things. I said how when I was a child I knew, but damn, I didn't remember it because even the last book I wrote, right? I give all this stuff, but yet even as I was writing, I wasn't remembering these things. And now that I started writing another book, all these things came back to me, and I was like, oh wow, like I really was aware as a child. Like I knew, I remember conversations I had with the creator as a kid, like all these things, just like boom, 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 boom. I was shown even who I was. So, just like that, how people aren't shown, tons of people that have had NDEs, the near death experience, and when they die and come back, they're shown up to a point, but I was shown beyond that point, right? I was shown not just my reason for coming to earth this way, but who I am, like on that spiritual level, right? They showed me all that. Like, so I really have seen past, like where I come from, everything, right? So now I remember, and I guess, I don't know if I've already, if that, I'm sure there's a lot more, right? That's coming, right? But it's like they really opened me up in writing this book, right? And I'll share it later. I'm very thankful for the bravery my last guest had, right, on the podcast on episode 43. It was like almost like that, right? Like something giving me another shock. So many, like every guest or something that has been opening different doors, right? And so this one just kind of um took me to a whole nother place. That it was just crazy to remember, and like even beyond that, right? Beyond not just seeing why I came to Earth, but beyond that, like who I am outside of that, right? Like even beyond that, why I'm here. So it was just crazy, and so I'm sure as that has opened now, I'm kind of bracing myself. I'm sure all these gifts that at one time I suppressed, or even me talking about the mission, why I'm here, why I'm really here. Um, I'm sure I'm gonna start probably revealing more of that, right? And maybe with the book, because even the last book, right? Once I wrote it and it was done, it was like, well, I can't hide none of this anymore because it's out there, right? Even right after, I was like, what did I do? What did I do? My human self was like, what did I just do? Like, how did I just give all this information, right? Like, uh, But then now, so writing this new book, I guess once I put it out, then I'll feel like, okay, I can talk about it because it's already out there. Not that I haven't talked about things in songs already. It's like all been mapped out, right? Like I've left so many things in songs that even when I wrote it, I didn't really realize it, right? Because I was channeling things all the time when I was writing songs. But like I've talked about it. Like I wrote about the pandemic in a song like 10 years before it happened. To the point, even like it's insane that even that, like I even talked about, how when this whole abortion thing passed, and I even talk about in the song I say women being told what to do with their babies, all these things. I was like, what? Like I detailed so many things about this whole experience that it didn't make sense until later, right? Like I think I like that song about the pandemic. I wrote probably 10 years before, right? And even it's crazy. Like I was watching, they even integrated into a show, like a modern show, right? That just aired, and they talked about the doomsday clock, right? And I remember in the dream seeing the doomsday clock, right? And all this stuff that I put, right? The the abortion thing, the doomsday clock, the pandemic thing, the curfews, that everything was written into the song, right? So I was already channeling so many things, even cosmic things, into these songs that I've written over the years. But I guess the books are a little different. I know that's a whole other thing from the Sphinx Moth. Maybe you're like, what the hell did I just watch? But yeah, hopefully you did get something out of it. I'm just trying to say that if you watch my other spirit animal videos, usually I'll tell you what it meant for me, right? But that's definitely part of the thing, right? If you're seeing it, I should have probably put this in the beginning, but if you're seeing it, it's definitely a transformation, right? You're going through the transformation. The moth sphinx would ask you to look even a little deeper, right? The riddle, the sphinx, the meaning of it. How does it relate to you, right? Different cultures have the sphinx in a different way, right? And some it has wings, and some it doesn't, right? There's so many different meanings to it. But to me, the first thing that jumped out at me was the riddle. What final riddle did I need to solve for myself? And as like the story of Oedipus, right? Or Oedipus, however you want to pronounce it. He's to become a king, right? So to have that ultimate transformation, right? And so I'll end it with that. Yeah, let me know if you've run into the moth sphinx or the Sphinx Moth, and if it meant anything to you, or if you even realized at the moment that something was trying to tell you, like, to not just brush it off. For me, it was obvious. This woman appears that has the exact same an orange helmet. I mean, come on, I mean, with the wardrobe and the transformation. Wow, I didn't even think about it. So for her to say, "Oh yeah, I transformed from the caterpillar," like even that was like a little joke from the universe, right? Or like, oh, you get it, you know what I mean? So I got all my confirmations, even on that first encounter. So even the second one, just a little more, right? The way it was fighting, we didn't want to change, right? But I know I'm open to it now. I think it was just showing me the human condition, right? The way that humans fight to change so much, even when something's good for them, right? Like they just fight it. So that's it. I'll end it. I know I could talk a lot more about it because there was just so much that was shown to me because of it, but I'll just end it there. Right. All right. Thanks for watching. Yeah, let me know if you ever wanted me to make a video about any other spirit animal, because everything is personal to me, right? So any spirit animal video I make, I'll let you know how it affected me personally, as opposed to just telling you like, well, this is what it means, and I mean, I'm obviously I know people prefer that sometimes, so it is what it is. Okay, thank you. Peace.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sometimes you just feeling it, you know what I'm saying? You just feeling it. And I want to feel this way forever.